Morning, and hello to everybody online and hello to everybody in the room. Thanks for coming along and making it so early. For everybody in the room, the milk has now arrived, so you can happily have a coffee or tea with actual milk. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the country we're on. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we pay our respects to elders both past and present. So we're very excited this morning to have a distinguished visitor who's come across from Melbourne to speak to us, Dr. Jaclyn Broadbent from Deakin. She was the 2016 recipient of the Australian Award for Teaching Excellence, I believe it's called, and very distinguished and innovative teacher in this space. So I won't go on for too long. I'll just hand over to Jaclyn, who will speak to us about her topic. We'll take some questions at the end. If you have any questions, burning questions during the session, feel free to post them in the virtual classroom and we'll get to them in time. But otherwise, over to you, Jaclyn. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I love this space. We do not have a space like this at Deakin, or if we do, I've never taught in it. It's wonderful. I really love it. So today I'm going to talk about personalising large class teaching. It's a really practical presentation of some of the things that we do in our large class to engage students and connect with them kind of on a more personal level. So to get us started, because it's 8 a.m. in the morning, I thought we'd just do a little talk to the person next to you exercise. So talking to the person next to you, I want you to think about the last time that you learnt something new. So this is not like you learnt a new fact by reading a journal article, like you wanted to learn a new skill or do something. I want you to tell the person next to you what it was that you decided to learn and how did you go about learning it. So just for 2 minutes.
And I saw a guy that's all I remember. And then I also that's all the kids and stuff. So what did that and I did got it back there. Now, 2 hours
I'm just listening. I know. Sorry.
How dare you grow that moss? You're gone. Too gone. There was all these bricks I had with moss on it, and it comes up so much. So that was my learning.
All right. I'm hearing lots of good conversations. Does anyone want to share what their partner said? So something that they learnt and how they went about learning it. And this is just like my classroom. All right, I'll go first. I'm not. So my 3-year-old neighbour just had a teddy bear's picnic party for her birthday. And I thought she wanted a teddy bear cake. Her favourite colour is pink. So I thought, all right, I'm going to make a teddy bear cake for her party. So the first picture is the finished product. The second picture is when we started eating it. So I even made the cake pink on the inside. It was like a swirly vanilla pink cake. And then what was left at the end was just the head on a plate, which is a little bit disturbing. How did I go about learning how to do this? Like, I don't bake cakes. That's not my thing. But what I did was I spent a lot of time Googling. I heard lots of other people say this, going online, looking up recipes. I went to quite a few blogs and looked at their pictures where they had like deconstructed making the teddy bear cake. You know, I wanted to know how to make a bow, so I watched a YouTube clip of someone making a bow that just went for like a minute, and I watched them and then tried to copy what they did. Did anyone else do anything similar to that?
I learned how to assemble a high-pressure water hose by watching a YouTube clip.
Yeah, and it worked?
Yeah,
Just,
perfectly.
yeah.
Yeah. A guy in India made the clip and it was spot on.
So helpful, isn't it?
Yes.
So these are some of the things that you might have, your partner or you might have said. Perhaps you were self-taught. Maybe you practiced a lot or you got somebody to show you how to do it. Like me, you might have gone on YouTube. You might have looked at a book or a step-by-step instructions, like I looked up a recipe book to make the cake. You might have done a MOOC. You might have even gone to a class. But did anyone say, oh, I went to a lecture theatre with 400 other people at a time and location that may or may not have been convenient for you? Did anyone's partner say that? And I know I'm probably preaching a bit to the converted here because you guys don't run as many lectures as we probably do at Deakin. But that's not typically how we learn. And so that was one of the challenges that we had in our unit is that we were kind of using that forum, that lecture theatre, as the place to connect with everybody. And then about 1/3 of the students were turning up and we had to run like 6 different lectures a week and it was just really complicated. So I wanted to talk today about some of the things that we've done to try and connect with students by getting around that problem with lectures. So this is the context that I teach into. In our large semester we have about 1,300 to 1,600 students who enrol in the unit. Over the course of the year it's over 2,000. It's a blended unit, but we do have a wholly online mode. So we're on 4 different campuses and one of our campuses is our what we call our cloud campus, our online campus. It's a first year unit. We have students from over 40 different courses take this unit. It's a kind of generalist health psychology unit, so we get people from teaching education to people, you know, studying exercise sports science or nursing that will take it. And we have a large large amount of sessionals. So we have about 25 sessionals who work and teach on the unit. So we run about 65 seminars a week. We were running about 5 lectures a week. So there's a lot going on. And just the fact that there's students from all different courses means that academic preparedness is really varied. Some of them are coming in with ATARs of 95, some have ATARs of 50 or 60, and they're all interested in really different things. So usually when I tell people that, oh, right now we've got about 1,300 students in the unit, people are like, did you get given that unit to be punished? Or, but I love it. It is complete chaos at times. If you think about, if something goes wrong in this unit, and even 10% of the students want to complain about it, that's 150 emails or something that hits my inbox within 1 hour of something going wrong. So it can be out of control. But the chaos makes you think outside the box all the time. So I come to things like this and often people will have these amazing teaching practices that they've implemented and I think, great, I love this, but how am I going to do this with 25 sessional staff over 4 campuses, one of which I've never been to in my whole life? How am I going to get this to work? So I do have to just recognise Melissa Hayden, who works on my team, who puts up with everything that I decide to do pretty much. I just come to her and say, I'm going to do this thing, and she's like, all right, what are we doing? So she does jump on board and I wouldn't be able to do half the things I'm going to talk to you about today. And I wanted to start just with our student satisfaction scores in this unit. So these are actually just for the semesters where it's our large one, and you can see here from our, we call it evaluate, that we score high on every single aspect. I think the lowest is 94% agree or strongly agree with all of the statements. So that's including things like receiving feedback, the quality of the teaching, the learning resources, just the experience that they're having. So the 3 things I'm going to talk about today is giving timely and meaningful feedback to students, and then also how we've created teacher presence in such a large unit where we've really tried to ensure that students don't feel like a number and that their class experience is personalised to them. So the first is audio feedback. So this is the context. In this health psychology unit, we teach the concepts of health behaviour change. So students are learning about how to get people to exercise more, to eat better, to sleep better, to make sure that you don't choose those delicious pastries at the end of the table, but actually pick the fruit. And it's all the psychology behind that. As part of their assessment, they have to engage in a health behaviour change, where they have to document over the course of 3 different journals how their behaviour change is going. They can choose anything that they like, and they have to then talk about the different concepts or theories or models that we're using about behaviour change and apply it to themselves. They have a video and a written component. The video for every journal goes for 2 minutes. It's a reflective piece, and then they have a 1,000 written piece. And they're due in week 3, 6, and 10 of the semester. So we give audio feedback on all 3 time points, and that audio feedback is given to the returned to the students 1 week before the next assessment piece is due. So they have it, so it's very timely. They're working on their next journal. They've just got their feedback. The idea is that they're meant to incorporate it into the next piece of work. So we started giving 5 minutes of audio feedback to the students on their work. So this is really personalised. It's the marker talking to the student about their piece of work. We don't write on the student's work at all. We don't have comments. The only comment we have is a generic comment that links what the student has done to the unit learning outcomes, and they also have a rubric. So when we started doing this in 2011, so this would be we run 3 semesters a year, so this would be our 21st semester, I think, of doing audio feedback with large cohorts. So we give 5 minutes, and when we first started doing it, we realised, oh, you can't just say, oh, well done, oh, that's good, or you need to improve here, which is all things that you probably know giving feedback already yourself. But it's really, we learned that it was really critical that we were giving concrete examples to the students, that we were reflecting back to them, you know, what they had done well and what they could do to improve. And one of the things that we learnt, that it was just as important to reflect to them what they'd done well back to them as it was to what they should do to improve in the future. And the reason for that is that we worked out that students actually don't, well, at least first year students don't always know when they've done something well, they don't know how to transfer that learning to the next situation. So they might know that they've done well, but didn't really understand, well, why they'd done well or how that could be transferred later on. We also learnt about giving audio feedback that your enthusiasm has to match the mark that you're giving. So we had quite a lot of young sessionals when we started doing this that were really pumped about giving audio feedback, and were quite enthusiastic, and a student would email me and say, I'm just like a little bit confused, my marker just seems so happy with my piece of work, but I got a pass. And that doesn't really like, they're really excited, and I'm not that excited that I got a pass, so I don't know how that works out. So, you know, that took a little bit of time to work out what to do. And we also use this thing called teachable moments, where we spend time explaining something to a student. In fact, all our training with our 25 sessional staff is around, like, what would you just say to this student if they were in front of you right now? This is what audio feedback should be like. So we did that for a few years, and just learning how to train markers to do it and get them to do it all consistently did take us quite a bit of time to get our head around. But once I kind of got that down pat, I thought, well, is that all I need, is this audio feedback? And the answer is no, it wasn't. So then in 2014, we started to implement what we call feed-forward feedback. So feed-forward feedback is really where the marker has to not just justify the grade of the student and their current performance, but actually look ahead to the next assessment and give guidance about how to improve on that next assessment piece. Now, I know that you had David Bowd here last week, or this week actually, talking about feedback, and he hates this term, and we fight about it all the time, because he says feedback should just be this. This is what feedback is. That if students are not doing something with the feedback that you're giving them, then it's not feedback. It just shouldn't be even called that. Except for we all know that usually when I know when we're marking, students often don't look at all the comments, they don't know how to transfer that information really easily to the next assessment piece. So what we actually did with our feed-forward feedback is I looked at all of our assessment, I looked at how each of the skill sets aligned, where we could match up what they'd done in one journal to the next journal. And the markers actually all have to do a minimum of 2 lots of feed-forward feedback in any 5-minute recording that they do, a minimum. So some do more than that, but they have to have at least 2 pieces. The way that we've got trained people to do that is we've actually mapped it all out for them. We write scripts that link the pieces of work together so that if they feel a bit anxious about it, which is usually the main reason why markers find it difficult to do feed-forward feedback, they can read, modify, but read a script out. And we find that after only doing that for 2 or 3 students, then they feel comfortable enough to kind of do it on their own without a script. The next biggest challenge that we had when you're marking 1,500 assignments is, well, how do you make sure that all that audio feedback is consistent amongst all those 25 sessional markers? So not only do we have quite a bit of training and a training guide and scripts for feed-forward feedback, but we also give audio feedback on their audio feedback to the markers. So our moderation process is probably similar to many of yours in that we blind double mark some pieces of work. We compare our mark to the sessionals mark. We then listen to their audio feedback, and then we record them audio feedback on their audio feedback. And we send it to them in the same manner that they're doing to the students. So we use concrete examples. We have teachable moments. We do feed-forward feedback in our audio feedback. So there's Mal and I moderate all of our sessionals. They have to do, they have to send us 2 pieces of work before they can start. If we're happy with how they're going, which sometimes we have some very senior markers that have been with us a long time, we'll be like, right, off you go. But otherwise, we would do that process over and over again until we were happy that that marker is consistent with everybody else. We then track how that marker is progressing through their marking in a spreadsheet that's, that all markers can see. So all markers can see how many pieces of work other markers have marked and what the average is for that class and how that class links back to the overall cohort average. So they're sent that every 2 days. And then when they get about halfway, we randomly go in and moderate them again. So they don't know when we're going in, they don't know which ones we're going to pick. We go in and do it again just because people get tired. Sometimes markers will sit down and do 20 assignments in one day and they get bad habits, and we go in and make sure that they're still marking on track. So we found with this sort of process that immediately giving audio feedback was just higher quality than any of the comments that our sessional markers were giving before. And I should say that we're not paying our markers anything different to do this. We actually took the marking money that the money and the workload that we had allocated to this process when it was comments and transferred it to audio feedback. So this has cost us, our school, no more money. But it was immediately higher quality because what we had prior to that was lots of the markers were using cheat sheets. I know I used to use them when I was a sessional marker where you have comments that you copy and paste into a student's work. They're quite generic. They're not tailored to that student. When you're recording feedback to a student's work, it cannot be anything but personalised. So it was just immediately higher quality. It was far more detailed, and we've trained them to be more efficient. So they literally record once. We have very strict rules. Like if your dog barks, your child comes up to you and talks to you in the background, you just keep going. You just say sorry. And just like you would if you were teaching, if you make a mistake, you say, oh no, I've thought of a better example, and you just keep going. And they mark these journals in about 15 minutes per journal, which is quite quick. We've had a big reduction in remarks. Now I know for some people say, oh, we never get remarks. But also some people scare students into feeling like they're going to get a lower mark if they do ask. I'm not saying anyone here necessarily, but I was at a presentation recently where someone was like, oh no, we never get remarks because we just tell them that they could get a lower mark if they ask for a remark. And I'm like, okay. But we found that, so for example, we just released our Journal Post 2 marks and we had 4 people of 1,300 grades that we had released saying, oh, can I get some clarity around my mark? So what we think actually is happening is not that they necessarily like the mark that they got, but that they understand why they got it. And that is why we don't have very many people come back to us. We get actually more emails of people saying they loved the feedback than, can you have another look at this? So in this semester, so right now, this afternoon actually, we're about to release 1,300 grades. We give audio feedback on 4,000 pieces of work in the 11-week semester. So that's like 4,000 audio files that we're recording and sending out. And despite that, this is for the student evaluation, feedback on my work on this unit helps me to achieve the learning outcomes. You can see here over time, we've managed to maintain really high scores, and the ones that I'm giving circles on, so this 93%, 95%, 94%, are in our large semester. So the N is just like how many people responded to the student satisfaction. And I think that's the important semester because, you know, if we can do it with 1,300 to 1,600 students, pretty much anybody can do this and probably do it better than what we're doing. I also wanted to put up this table as well, and hopefully you can see, but this is just tracking the student evaluation for that same question over time since its implementation. And the first square is just me showing you where we went from. In 2010, we were doing written comments to the students about the same type of work. And then in 2011, we moved to audio feedback, and you can see that we've made a jump up to 87%, and then we maintain that over time in that high 80s kind of mark. And then when we started to implement the feed-forward feedback, you can see another big jump. And I really, honestly, the feed-forward feedback is the best thing that we have ever done because students really can see how the feedback is meaningful for them, how they can improve their next piece of work. And you can see over time, again, we've been able to maintain really high student satisfaction with their feedback. So this is despite the fact that there are 25 different sessional markers, some of them who have never marked before, because when you have to hire 25 different sessional markers, you're not getting the cream of the crop all of the time. You just have to kind of take whatever you can get sometimes by the end of it. So we're able to get them to mark consistently, and the students are happy with it as well. So just recently, actually about 2 weeks ago, I surveyed the students in this current semester and had about 346 responses, asking them about their what they thought about the feedback that they've been receiving. And so you can see here 85% agreed or strongly agreed that the audio feedback was more detailed than the written feedback that they were receiving in other units. That 93% agreed or strongly agreed that it made them feel like their tutor cared about how they were going. 95% agreed or strongly agreed that the audio feedback made it feel more personalised. 92% agreed or strongly agreed that the audio feedback helped them to improve their next journal. And so the thing about caring and stuff is really important to us in this unit because with such a large amount of students, it is so easy for students to feel like a number that, I mean, I get workloaded, I don't even know if I meant to say this, I get workloaded probably like 3 minutes a student in our unit, 3 minutes. And I've got to be the unit chair across all these people that most of who I'll never see face to face. So I've got to work out ways of connecting with them with my 3 minutes that is like the most meaningful thing that we can do so that they feel connected to the unit. And this audio feedback is one of those ways that we've done that. So does it translate to other units? We think yes. We implemented a project last year where we had another first year unit, a second year unit, and 2 third-year units, all with different types of assessments. So one was like a lab report, one was a policy brief, an essay, and then some other short answer. And then we surveyed the students to see what they thought about the feedback that they got. So 84% agreed, strongly agreed, that it helped them improve their future assignments. 88% said that it helped them understand the areas that they did well or needed to work on. This one's interesting, this 92%, that it helped improve structure and organisation, because one of the things that people were really worried about when implementing audio feedback is, well, how do you comment on like a long essay, and how do you flag to the student you're talking about this section, and how do you improve overall structure and content? But the students were saying, no, I could understand from this feedback what to do and how to use it. Okay, so that's audio feedback. The next thing is something called intelligent agents, which always makes me think of the Matrix. And they're not really that intelligent either, but they're an automated system that essentially has 3 steps, and those 3 steps are you tell it what to look for on the LMS, you tell it when to look, and then when it finds someone who matches that criteria, you tell it to send X email. So it's something that I set up at the start of the semester, like weeks before the trimester even starts. And so we have a whole heap of criteria that we Some examples are here that we get it to look for. So for example, not logging onto the LMS for over 12 days, they would get an email. This is important for us because on top of the 3 journals, we also have weekly quizzes. So if they haven't logged on for 12 days, they've definitely missed a piece of work. Not logging onto the LMS before census date, which means they've been enrolled for 5 weeks by that time. So that's really scary if they haven't ever logged on. If they haven't submitted an assignment, they get an email from us. We send congratulation emails for high grades. We send emails if they've improved scores over time, which is one of my favorite. And we send emails to follow up on any low marks that a student gets. And then there's a whole host of other stuff that we do. So for example, our off-campus students get specific emails from us just saying like, have you found this resource? Like, how are you going navigating the LMS? That kind of thing. So I wanted to put up a couple of examples of some of the emails that I send out. So I don't really expect you to be able to read the thing. That's not really that important. But this email is the one we send it out if they have not submitted a journal. So we explain to them, you know, they can still apply for an extension, that they how long they have until the late submission folder closes. One of the most important things that I think that we do is always having this expectation in any email that they can succeed. It doesn't matter if they've failed the assignment, that they haven't submitted, they haven't logged on, whatever it is, we always have an expectation that they can succeed, that they can get back into the fold, can continue to, if they continue to work on the unit, then they can still pass. It's personalised to their first name, and we always do a scaffolding of help seeking as well, because help seeking is really important when you have 1,500 students, because if they don't tell you what's going on, it's really unlikely that you will know, so you need them to reach back to you all the time. We send out ones, if they haven't this is the one for not logging on Cloud Deakin, so you can see the light blue things are like links, and those links are things like, so if we say to them, oh, maybe something's going on, here's like a link to all the different resources that we have at Deakin that you might need, like, for example, study skills assistance, or even a medical centre or financial skills. Again, expectation that they can succeed, and we're scaffolding that help-seeking behaviour. So this one is that they've got a high distinction. This one gets sent to anyone that scores over 80% on an assessment piece. And we just kind of have some message that's related to that journal. You can see that it's it has my personality. I think this is a really important component of the automatic emails. There are way too many exclamation marks in there, but that is totally me. I use too many exclamation marks. It's really meant to sound like it comes from me to the students. We don't want it to sound like an institutional email. We want it to be a connection with the student. So my favourite one is this one where we send it out to students who have improved over time. And so this is like the intelligent agent is looking for, like, on Journal Post 1, what was their score? And on Journal Post 2, what was their score? Is the Journal Post 2 score higher than the Journal Post 1 score? If yes, send them this email. So you can see here this, like the rocket ship that's on there, and this dinosaur. That's like totally me. I love this. These are the stamps. I have a whole collection of stamps that I send out to students. So think about that memory in primary school, right? Everyone, you've got that memory of getting a stamp on your work when you've done something well. Everyone has that memory. And when we were making these, I thought, I love that. I just loved getting a stamp. So I thought, well, they're either going to think I'm super lame, or they're going to have the same memory as me and like it. And I think I got somewhere in between, which is that they think I'm completely lame when I send them these things, but they do really like it. So every semester, we get comments in our student evaluations where they were like, oh, I just wanted to get a HD on the next quiz so I could see what the next stamp was going to be. And you're like, yes. Yes, I love that. I mean, I don't care if that's like extrinsic motivation or whatever. It works. Even just getting them to do the quiz, I think, is a win in that sense. So, you know, these stamps obviously aren't for everybody, but this is really like my personality. And again, that I think it needs to be authentic in that way. And this actually was from last semester. We have a Facebook group that we run and moderate ourselves. So at the moment we have 700 students on our Facebook group. It's such a great community and way to connect with them. But I just copied and pasted this from last semester because a student posted, I got this email I'm remembering way back when I was in primary school and would get stickers on my work when I did really well. Thanks, Jack and Mel. You encouraged us so much throughout the semester. I wanted to say I really appreciate it. And then that was the second picture is actually the picture of the email that they got with the bumblebee stamp on it. Yeah. It was so nice. I was like, yes. It was really good. And we also have some other fun ones that we send out as well that I wanted to show you. So this one, is there sound? Oh, no sound. Probably should have checked that. Is there sound? You can get the picture. So in this instance, they get this sent, they do an in-class test which we call Journal Post 4 where they have to apply all the concepts they've learned to a case study. But when they finish it, they get sent this dancing old man, which they love. And so this one won't have sound either. Imagine Michael Jackson singing in the background, this. And then the cat gets up and dances. Yeah. So this one actually, when they submit their last quiz, there's 10 quizzes that they have to do, and everyone kind of finishes that last quiz at a different time because they can kind of finish anywhere in a 2-week period all their quizzes. This email gets sent out to them with this dancing cat just kind of saying, congratulations on finishing it. And we always get someone in our Facebook group jumping on board saying, hey, have you seen the dancing cat? And then other students say, what dancing cat? And they're like, well, you have to finish your week 10 quiz to see the dancing cat. And you're like, I love it, it's so good. And it's just a bit of fun. I know it's not educational, but it really helps to get the students involved with one another and connected. Yeah, it's just a nice, it can't all be too serious. Should be sort of serious, but not too serious. So, okay, I'm sure some of you are wondering or thinking this, just as I kind of came to the same conclusion, which is sending out these emails, especially to the students that are at risk, they're not even checking their email, right? You're thinking, oh, it's so nice you send out these emails, they're probably not even looking at them. And you're like, you are correct. Especially the ones that are disengaged, that are not logging onto the LMS, that are not submitting their work, they are not checking their institutional email either. So because I just don't like anyone to get away from me at all, I started sending them text messages. So we send text messages. I know it's a bit creepy, isn't it? People looking at me. So we send them text messages if they haven't logged onto our Cloud Deakin, our LMS, before the census date. It's amazing how many students reply to me on that one where they're like, I'm not enrolled in your unit. And you're like, oh yeah, you're enrolled and you are about to get charged all this money for it as well. So you need to hop on Student Connect and unenroll yourself. We send them text messages if they haven't submitted their assignment. And my favorite, we send them text messages if they get a really high grade. This one's my favorite because we send out a text message that says, you got a top 10% grade out of 1,500 students. You should be really proud of that. And, they are really proud of that. We get so many responses back from that where they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I didn't even know that my mark was that good or whatever. It's really nice. So I'm not sitting here on my personal device texting everyone. It's, again, very much automated. I download pretty much all of the information from Learning Analytics on our LMS and then spend about 5 minutes just kind of changing the spreadsheet a little bit and I upload it to an online platform that sends out the SMSs to the students. So it's manual but quite automatic if I'm not typing everything out. And then I can bulk send one message to all of the students that I want to send it to. And they can reply and I can reply back on the platform as well. So we send these SMSs out and I think that it's worked really well, especially most students have a phone and those really disconnected students often will reply back to us through this medium. Whereas we've tried ringing them before and no one returns your calls or answers the phone, whereas they're much more likely to do it. So again, I just asked the students this semester, because I always like to make sure that what we're doing really works for the students all the time. So I asked them if they had received an SMS from us, and we had about 400 responses, but only 80 people actually had got an SMS from us from that group. And then they could pick as many as they want. They could pick as many of these responses as they thought appropriate, which is why there's more than 100% here. But 81% said the teaching team it made them feel like the teaching team cared. 78% said it made them feel proud. 74% said the teaching team, they felt like the teaching team was keeping an eye on their progress. 61% said it motivated them to engage in the unit. And then 36% said the SMSs made the unit more enjoyable. And I'm okay with that because a lot of the SMSs we're sending is like, you haven't submitted your assignment or why aren't you on Cloud Deakin? So that's probably not that enjoyable to get anyway. So I'm okay that's quite low. We also asked them about the emails. We had 309 responses. 89% of them agreed or strongly agreed that it helped them to do well in the next assessment or to log on to the Cloud Deakin more often. And 96% agreed or strongly agreed that it made them feel like the unit team cared about how they were going. We also had about 225 qualitative short answer responses that we've just kind of briefly mapped out here. It was really interesting. There was a lot of responses about recognition and feeling like it was a reward and getting praise, as well as, you know, feeling individual and special. We had people saying things like, oh, I got one of these emails and I printed it out and showed my parents that, you know, I'd got this congratulation email. It helped them to feel more motivated. I felt the dark blue line I thought was really interesting because part of why we were doing this was to see that they would connect obviously more with us, and we wanted them to feel like we were tracking their progress and that we cared. But actually most of the time when they made a reference to connecting or feeling like someone cared, it was about Deakin caring. So the reference was to Deakin, not necessarily to us, and I thought, oh, that's like, I didn't expect that, but still really good. And I just cherry picked some comments to show you. Of course, they're good, but just you have to trust me that they're all kind of like this. So I just read out the blue, you know, it makes you feel like a person studying and not a number in the large group. Made me feel like the teaching team were there anytime we needed them and were keeping an eye on our progress. Remembering that I set up all of these automated things weeks before the semester starts and never look at them again. They just run by themselves all semester. And so I'm not really tracking their progress. And firstly, I couldn't believe that she had known, didn't really know. Secondly, couldn't believe that she'd taken the time to email to say congratulations. I really felt like it mattered how well I did, and I wasn't as isolated as I had felt at university. I should also say in here we had 9 responses, this purple line that knew that it was automated, that made a comment about it. 9 people of those 225. And of that, all of them either said they still really liked it, like they knew it was automated but they didn't care, or that it just had no effect. No one said I hated that it was automated. No one said anything kind of negative. Maybe they were too scared to, so that's possible. But my general sense, we've been doing intelligent agents for 7 years now, and we've never had any student kind of write us an email that says anything negative, or even in our student evaluations about it. So does it translate to other units? One of the, you know, the SMS and the emails have been really important for us to keep students on track and get them back at what I call getting them back into the fold. So if they don't submit an assignment, trying to get them to submit the next one because they can still pass if they do that. And I just put this up here. This is our retention score. So this is after census date, but we consistently score 98% of our students will submit work during the semester. This is not how many pass. So we have less than 10% that fail, but this is how many people actually engage, submit work during the semester. And this is for our large semester with like 1,500 students. So we wanted to see, well, could we do the same thing in other units? So we took 2 other first year units and implemented these intelligent agents and SMSs. And so so this is just their retention scores again, same after census date. And prior to it, we were able to move them both from 81% to 91% and 79% to 94%. Now, I'm not going to claim all credit for that because obviously great teaching staff within these units, they're all implementing their own things. But during that time, we started doing all of these same things that we were doing in my unit to these units, and we could see a real improvement in the number of students that were submitting work. Not necessarily passing, but submitting work. Okay, last thing. So live chat. Everyone knows that when you're shopping online and they pop up, that is me. I'm like popping up and annoying all the students. This is what we look like. This is our LMS homepage. This is our pop-up thing. Again, look, I put our heads on there because that's how lame I am. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to put my heads on there. That's, you know, and anytime that we're available, this pop-up widget is shown to the students. If we're not online, they can't see anything. They can't click on it. It doesn't exist. So this pops up, this sort of like online shopping, where they can chat to us in real time. This is actually really important for our online students. We have about 400 of the 1,500 are completely online. So this is one of the ways that we mainly connect with those students. So I'll show you what it looks like. They just like, the student jumps on, they put in their name, they have to put in their email address, and then they can start chatting. It looks exactly like if you're just talking via, you know, text message on your phone. They can see when I'm typing a response back to them, and we just talk this way. It's actually a really efficient process because they kind of want to get the conversation over with as quickly as you do. So there's no fluff. It just is like, this is my question and moving on. From our side, this is kind of what it looks like. The best thing about this platform is you can see a student typing before they press enter. So here, like they've said, oh, you know, I can't work out what locus of control is. And I'm like, well, have you watched the week 8 seminar? And they're like, no, I haven't had time to watch it. And then they're like, oh, backspace, backspace, backspace. Oh, I can't find that resource anywhere. You're like, you're a little liar. I can see what you're writing. It's really interesting how students construct some of these questions. Probably the worst thing is that, because sometimes they take a little bit of time to type everything out, so usually I can guess what their question's going to be and I type out my response, and a few times I've pressed enter before they've pressed enter, so I've like responded to the question they haven't asked yet. That's a bit awkward, but it's really good fun. I love live chat. It's such a lovely way to connect with the students. I know that it does sound like more workload. It is more workload, but I will say that it diverts traffic from all our other places. So when we're on live chat, we get no discussion board posts at all at that time. They'll come to us this way. Our emails, like they don't email us as much. We were able to show, like even for the first semester that we did it, we had a 30% drop off on emails while we were using live chat. And the reason that so it's probably equivalent workload, except for on this platform, I can solve a problem straight away while I'm talking to them. I don't need all of the fluff that you have to put in with emails. In our unit, when there's like 1,500 students, we might get 100, prior to this we were getting 100 emails a day. So you reply to a student and then they take 2 days to reply, and then you've got to read the email chain again to work out what you were talking about and what the situation was, and that all takes time. Whereas this way, we just like solve the problem, we both of us move on, so it cuts all of that down. So I mapped out, this was the first semester that we did it. We're on to our 4th semester now. So I mapped out our chats. We had 315 for the semester. And as you can see, those red arrows is when their assignment is due. So they were on all the time when they're at the week of the assignment. Our assignment is always due on a Friday. That week leading up, they're on there. Now, you can see all these gaps in between where there's no chats or very little chats. I'm there. I'm available. They can see my head popped up on the LMS. But it costs me nothing to do that. I'm like logged in, they can see I'm available, but they choose not to talk to me. And I think that actually makes a connection in itself. They know I'm there if they need me, but they just choose not to talk to me. But it costs me 0 workload to do that, to have this sitting in the background with no one chatting to me at all. Students could rate our chats, and 102 of them rated them, and all of them rated them as good. So we asked them, you know, would you recommend, we've had about 100 responses, just under 100 responses, and you can see here, they've recommended the live chat to other people, they're satisfied, they made it feel like the unit team cared about them, and it gave them just-in-time support. All of the things that we were expecting or hoping would happen. There's so we're still surveying students on this one at the moment, so there's a whole heap of qualitative responses. But essentially it was, why do you want to use it? And every single response just says assessment, assessment, assessment. And sitting on live chat, I can definitely say that all of their questions, they are literally sitting there with their work open or their computer open. They are working on their assignment. The questions are really like they're trying to bounce ideas off you or check their understanding of the feedback that they've received from the previous journal is correct. It's not like they don't go on there and say, oh, I don't know where this resource is, or I don't know how to reference this. It's like stuff that they're really thinking about, which is actually kind of a rewarding conversation to have as a teacher. They like it because it's personal and private, it's really convenient, and it's fast and immediate. The interesting thing was we've asked them about a whole host of other different support mechanisms, including like using discussion boards, and all of them qualitatively say things like, oh, I post things on the discussion board if it's not time urgent, or I think other students will want to know the answer to this same question. So it was really good that they were able to make that differentiation themselves. So we've been, in the summer semester, which is our wholly online semester, we implemented live chat in 4 units, as well as they already had the intelligent agents and the SMSs, but we put this on top of it. And so we were actually able to reduce the number of XN grades, which is the number of students who don't submit anything for the entire semester, across those 4 units by 7.5%. And not only were more people submitting than they previously had in the summer semester before, but less people failed across those units on average. So they were submitting more often and failing less often. So this is really preliminary. We're really trying to work out, you know, how much this helps with retention or grades or what it's actually doing for the students. But at least I think the connection thing, it is really helping. And all these units that we've been implementing it in are quite large. We actually have now 10 units who are doing live chat as part of this trial. So there's 4 in first year, we have 1 in second year, 3 in third year, 1 in fourth year, our honours year. We have 2 postgraduate medicine units doing it, as well as we've had 2 engineering units to use it as a comparison to the psychology students. So all of this like sense of mattering, I guess, was the real reason that we did this to begin with. And I think that really is, the students really feel like we do care and that what they do matters. Some of the challenges, I guess, always workload is a really big issue. It always is. As I said, I think it kind of is equivalent workload because it takes away from other places. Also, the live chat allows you to do a lot of canned responses. So, for example, we have the word extension. I could type in the word extension into live chat and it brings up this whole paragraph that's pre-typed that's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear you can't submit your assignment. These are processes. Here's the link. And it's taken me 1 word to type that out. So, you know, there are ways of making it quicker. It costs us about $125 per unit for 3 months to run. So at the moment, the school thinks that's a good deal and is paying for it. And I just wanted to leave you with this quote: the education is not the lighting, it's not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And that's exactly how I feel. It's all about trying to motivate and engage students. If you're interested in any of the things, some of the papers, I recently published a paper with David Bowd about applying kind of this formative flavour to summative assessment, which does touch on some of the audio feedback stuff that we're doing, but a whole heap of other things where we have online exemplars with videos explaining rubrics and all sorts of other things that we do in this unit. I also have a paper just on moderating large class audio feedback, and David Bowd was here this week, and the last reference is actually part of their OLT Learning for Feedback project that they have, where they have, I think, like 10 case studies from around Australia, and my unit is case study number 2, and it's actually, they did a really good job writing it up. Sounds really good. Probably better than it really is, but it sounds excellent. So have a look at the stuff there. They have heaps of examples as well of other units and other contexts. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jaclyn. It was fascinating, and most of the questions seem to be, how can we do this at UniSA? So you've just cost us a lot of money. So that's
$125 for live chat.
okay. So that was one of the things that I think we would like to clarify. What sort of costs are involved with, say, the automated SMS?
Yeah, it cost me 8 cents an SMS to send, and currently I send them for 4 units, all first year, based on those 3 things that I just specified. So we probably spent, I think I pay, I don't know, $200 a year or something for 3 semesters for sending out SMSs.
Wow,
yeah.
that's...
It's not very much. I mean, like, it's a little bit, but it's not thousands of dollars or anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cheaper than the catering for this breakfast, so that's, we'll take that anytime. So does anyone have any questions in the room? Yep.
Hi Jaclyn, that's great. And I've been investigating video and audio feedback for a little while and implementing it next year. So looking forward to seeing the comparison. What I want to know is, with your on-campus students, has it impacted your attendance rates?
Having audio feedback, or just these things in general?
The things that you've implemented.
I think this is a bit of a chicken and an egg probably conversation, in as much as we started implementing these things because they weren't always coming to class. So maybe then it's hard to say whether now they come less because we do these things, or whether they would have naturally declined anyway as time has progressed since doing it. The one thing that I will say is I'm actually not really concerned about whether students come to class or not. I think it's really up to them. We've tried to provide a really flexible learning arrangement where we literally have created the unit for on-campus students where they can move in and out as on-campus or online student as much as they would like, or as little as they like. They can come to every single class and have a lot of face-to-face time with us, or they can just choose to do all the things online. So, for example, like our lectures, we live stream them live, so they can, if they don't want to come to a 9 a.m. lecture, which is what we had this year, they can sit on their bed with their pajamas on, they hear me in real time, they see my slides in real time, we have a chat function, they can chat in real time, just kind of like what we're doing here, exactly like this. And we also record it. And we say, you can do whatever you like. You can come face-to-face if that's how you want to learn. You can come live, you can online, or you can listen to the recording in your own time. So that's how we've built the unit, with as much flexibility in mind as possible. So we still get quite good attendance, but for our lectures, for example, it's probably, by the end of the semester, we're getting no more than a third of students turning up.
Nicole online asks, is the live chat available at set times? How long do you stay online?
Yeah, so we have 9 units using it right now, and the only thing that we've really said to the unit chairs, and we actually were going to fund this, I should say, with sessional staff members, and all of the unit chairs said, no, I want to do it myself. And some of them now have been doing it for 3 semesters just because they've really enjoyed it. So the only thing we've specified is they have to be available on the day the assignment is actually due at a set time, and that students must know about that set time. Then everybody else has done kind of what works for them. I've tried to let it be as flexible as possible. Some people have consultation times where they say this is the time I'll be available. Most of us jump on whenever we're free. When I say free, like I just said to the students, these are all the things I do in my life, like sleep and eat, and I like to go for walks, and we have meetings and teaching, and if I'm free, I will jump on. So I only jump on if I'm working on a journal article or something, you can't jump on because it is distracting, but I have heaps of administration load associated with this unit, so if I'm doing any of that, I'm always online.
Hang on,
Yeah.
I'll just give you the mic. So people
hello, my name's Dr. Joan Harmon, and I have a large course, like 650 students, so not as many as you. And one thing I wanted to ask was actually your administration load and the load allocated for you and your team as well. Can you talk about the structures that are in place to support you and your team to achieve this?
Yeah, so the work allocation model, essentially, the way that we just follow the model of the university, and then Mal and I, instead of allocating kind of specific hours, well, we get specific hours, we just split everything in half, and then we split jobs in half, is the way that we do it. I'm lucky that I come from a school that that values teaching and taking risks, and will give you extra development time if you're doing something innovative and new, that you need time to just work out all of the issues and problem solve some of those things. So I couldn't off the top of my head tell you how many actual hours I'm allocated. Do these things take more time? Probably, yes, than the hours that I'm allocated. in some sense. In some of them, it claws back a lot of... So some of them take more time. So, for example, the moderation that we do does take time up front. But the fact that then we don't have students complaining, and if 10% want to remark, that's 150 assignments I have to remark, because that never happens, then I claw back time in other ways.
So it's a team of 2 people, or do you have an admin person?
2 people, just me and Mel, yeah. And the rest are sessional. Yeah, I'm happy to talk in more detail with you personally, like, you know, one-on-one after this, if you, want to hear that.
Okay, there's another question from the room.
Morning, Jackie. Thank you for your discussion. Philip's my name. I've got a comment about your audio files and then a question to Stuart and UniSA, I suppose. I do a Viva as a component in one of my major assessments, and one of the wonderful things to come out of that, unexpected, was the feedback I could give to students within that Viva. So I'm interested in what you're doing with your audio stuff. Now, my question now to Stuart, etc., is how do you've got 1,500 files, I'll only have 80, but can that fit in with our Moodle? How do you disseminate? How do you disseminate it? And can we do it with our Moodle?
Yeah, so we just attach, like we have in our assignment folder, like if you have Turnitin, you can do this. You know, you can record audio files. So some of our tutors use that. Most of them use their own product. One of them is Audacity that they use, and then they just add it as a file, like attach it. Still in their submission folder, and they attach it there.
Okay.
And in the local context, I think on task.
Stuart, have you got the microphone?
No.
Oh, naughty.
In the local context, I think we've developed something called On Task, which Sheridan can possibly speak to. Yep. Okay, last question from the room.
Hi, Jaclyn. Thank you for a very interesting and inspiring presentation, I would say. I just want to ask you a couple of questions, but I will limit with one. When you say that live chat, the students tend to be 24/7. So how do you respond? How do you pop up your head? I think if they ask you questions in the middle of the night or 2 a.m., do you respond?
No, so they can't even see the live chat function. It doesn't pop up, it doesn't exist if I'm not online. So they can't click on anything, they can't contact us. It's only when we're available that they can do that. Interestingly, we're trialling something at Deakin at the moment called Your Tutor, which runs from 3 p.m. in the afternoon till midnight for the students. So we try not to clash with that too much. And it's a support system where they can get drafts read and all sorts of things. But we've actually just been comparing the stats, and the students have been interacting with us more on live chat in our workday hours than they choose to interact with the Your Tutor. And when I very first did this, I just did it by myself for 1 semester, and I did all different times. So I got on it, I'm a morning person, so I would get on at 6 a.m. and see if anyone would talk to me, and I'd stay up till 10 o'clock to see if anyone would talk to me. And mostly they did not want to talk to me during those times. They were quite happy just to do it in work hours. In fact, between 10 and 4 p.m. were the busiest times. Yeah. So yeah, they don't want to talk to me necessarily at 11 o'clock at night.
Very quickly, just a couple of things. I know we've gone over time. Sheridan Gentili from the Teaching Innovation Unit. Just want to mention that we also... Sorry, computer. We have been using Your Tutor at UniSA for a few years now. It's about to change names. Studiosity.
Yeah, I think it's already changed.
It has. Yeah. I haven't noticed whether it's changed on the site yet, but that just could be because I haven't logged in. So that is available for our students out of hours. The other thing, and Stuart just touched base on previously, is On Task, which is a system that we've developed here at UniSA as part of an OLT grant through the TIU that will generate automated emails to students, so that feedback type mechanism. Exactly the same as you've been talking about. You can set them up in advance and they can be sitting there to send out to the students. We're about to roll that out for UniSA online very soon, and we're looking at integrating that for first semester 2018. So what I might do is send an email out to everyone who's registered for this session, just with a little bit of information, keep you posted.
Okay, we've run out of time. I'm sure there's some more questions, but I'm afraid we've come to the end. So another round of applause for Jaclyn for a fantastic presentation, and we appreciate you coming over to visit, and we'll ask you over again next year to see how you're going, hopefully. So thanks very much, everyone, and keep your eye out for the next session, and we'll send out a recording to this session later on this week. Thanks very much. See you next time.